I made my girlfriend cancel her dream vacation because of a text message. She thanked me 3 months later. My girlfriend, Vanessa, had been planning her Greece trip for 2 years, saving every spare dollar from her teaching salary to make it happen. She'd booked a villa in Santorini, mapped out every island she wanted to visit, even learned basic Greek phrases from YouTube videos she watched during her lunch breaks. Her best friend Casey was going with her, and they'd planned the whole thing around spring break so Vanessa wouldn't miss work. I was genuinely happy for her because she'd been talking about Greece since our third date, showing me pictures of white buildings and blue-domed churches, saying someday she'd stand there and watch the sunset. 3 days before her flight, I was helping her pack when her phone buzzed on the bed. The screen lit up with a text from Casey, and I saw it before I could look away. Make sure Greg doesn't suspect anything. 2 weeks of freedom, just us. I stared at that message for maybe 5 seconds before my brain caught up. Vanessa was in the bathroom, singing off-key while she organized her toiletries into travel-size containers. I picked up her phone and saw more messages, dozens of them between Vanessa and Casey going back weeks. Can't wait to finally meet him in person. Do you think he looks like his photos? 2 years of video calls and we finally get to be together. My hands went numb. The messages painted a clear picture. Some guy named Andreas, who Vanessa had been talking to online for 2 years, who lived in Athens, who thought this trip was his chance to finally be with her in person. Casey wasn't just a friend coming along for support. She was the cover story, the alibi, the reason I wouldn't question why my girlfriend was spending 2 weeks in another country. Vanessa came out of the bathroom holding a hair straightener, asking if she should bring it or just buy one there. I held up her phone with the messages still on the screen. Her face went from confused to pale in half a second. That's not what it looks like, she said, but her voice was already shaking. I asked her who Andreas was and watched her try to formulate an answer that wouldn't sound exactly like what it was. She claimed he was just a friend she'd made online, that she'd mentioned him to me before, that I was overreacting. I scrolled through more messages and found ones where she'd sent him photos of herself, where they'd talked about what they'd do when they finally met, where he'd sent her romantic messages in Greek that she'd used Google to translate. Cancel the trip, I said, my voice flat. Vanessa's eyes went wide and she started crying immediately, saying I was being controlling, that she'd saved for 2 years, that I couldn't make her give up her dream. Then I'll call Andreas myself and ask him about your friendship, I said, and her crying stopped instantly. Her whole face changed from defensive to panicked. She grabbed for the phone, but I'd already stepped back. The truth started spilling out in broken sentences. She'd met him on some language exchange app 2 years ago when she started learning Greek. He'd seemed nice at first, just helping her practice. Then they'd started video calling. Then he'd said he was falling for her. She claimed she'd tried to end it, but he'd been so persistent, so romantic, and she'd convinced herself it wasn't really cheating because they'd never met in person. Casey had known the whole time and encouraged it, saying Vanessa deserved to explore her options, that being with one person since college was limiting her life experience. The Greece trip was supposed to be her chance to see if what she felt for Andreas was real. I told her she had 2 choices. Cancel the trip and we'd figure out if this relationship was salvageable, or go to Greece and don't bother coming back to my apartment afterward. Vanessa called Casey while I was standing there and said she couldn't go, that the trip was off, that something had come up. Casey's voice came through the speaker asking what I'd done, calling me insecure and controlling, saying Vanessa was throwing away the experience of a lifetime. Vanessa hung up on her. She spent the next 3 days crying on my couch, her packed suitcase sitting by the door like a monument to what she'd almost done. I made her send Andreas a message ending whatever they had, and I watched her block his number and delete the app. Casey stopped talking to her entirely, their 8-year friendship ending over a canceled plane ticket. 3 months later, Vanessa showed me an article about Andreas being arrested for identity fraud and running romance scams across 4 countries.